across the line in Okinawa. I was a company commander, 1972. You know, I worked hard, deployed, PT, did everything, but at the end of the day, it's always drinking. Always drinking. And I said to myself, you know, I'm drinking too much. I won't drink this way when I go home because I got a wife and 3 little boys at home. But I continued to drink that way. Get on a plane, went to North Carolina, had a dinner one night with my wife, and she says something, the words like, "You think you drink too much?" I said, "Hell no, I don't drink too much." She says, "I think you drink too much." I said, "I think you're full of shit. I don't drink any more than the rest of the guys." She said, "Yeah, you do. I think you're an alcoholic." That's the first time anybody ever used that word with me. I was 32 years old. I said, "I'm not an alcoholic, Nancy. Come here. Take all the booze in the house, pour it down the toilet, flush it. I quit. I ain't ever having another drop to drink." And you know I meant that. But you know how many times I had that ceremony with my first wife? At least a dozen. Every time I flushed the toilet, I never wanted another drop. My problem was I could never stop drinking. I could never stop. I'd always go back to drinking. I had 3 little boys in those days. Good kids. Good athletes, good kids. You know, they're all grown up now. They're all in their 40s. My 2 youngest boys have been married in Florida. Have little granddaughters. You know why I was never invited to the wedding? I've never seen my 2 granddaughters. They're both 8. You know why? The fathers don't want them to meet me. I just sent the little granddaughters, taking a bunch of folks from Oregon on a Lewis and Clark and Nez Perce trip. I sent the granddaughters, I did a recon of the whole thing. Little books, Sacagawea, Lewis and Clark, little kiddie books for Christmas. Never heard a word from them. I want to tell you guys something. You only get one shot of being a dad. And I pissed it away. And you can't ever reel that back in. Alcohol cut a hole in the soul of my family. And I'd like to tell you it's different, but it's not. And I've been sober 26 years. I flunked the test as a husband and a father. I can't tell you how sad I am about that. My oldest boy was working in and around Detroit, and he called me one time. He says, "You want to be grandfather, see your 2 grandsons?" I said, "You kidding?" I went out to Detroit, and my oldest grandson was playing the Little League. He pulled his Little League uniform on, just like out of Field of Dreams. Wouldn't have a catch with his grandfather because he knew I played baseball at Notre Dame. Having a catch with your grandson. I can't tell you what a big thrill that is. Take your little girl fishing. Take your kid, have a catch with your kids. You know, I told a story in Command Staff College, and a major came in the next day and he says, "You know, my little girl's been asking me to go fishing at Lunga Reservoir the whole time. I kept telling her, I'm too busy." He says, "You know what I did after you told me that? I took her fishing at Lunga Reservoir. And you know what she said to her dad the next day? That's the nicest day I ever had with you, Dad. Just to fish with you." So, you know, I blew that away. So my wife and 3 kids drove out of the parking lot, and they're gone. And now I'm a Marine major living in a 1-room BOQ. 2nd Marines. Come home from work, have a drink, fill a tall glass, put some ice in it, a little tonic water, a shot of vodka and a lemon, have a little drink after work. You know, after a while, hell, I didn't need any lemon. I didn't need any tonic water. I didn't even need a glass. I I just drink that vodka right out of a bottle, hoping I'd go to sleep. Maybe even pass out. Take away the pain in your soul. And did I tell you I believe alcoholism is a spiritual disease? It's a disease of the soul. Trust me on this. It's a disease of the soul. I wake up next morning and take a look at that bottle of empty booze. I said, you know, this is bullshit. You can't live your life like this. You can't live your life like this. Get up, go to work, come back the next day, that night, go through the same routine. Alcoholism, repeated behavior expecting a different result. That's classic alcoholism. It's also insanity. Drink like that, same thing every night. You know what happened to me drinking like that? Rendered myself physically impotent. Did you guys hear me? 36 years old. What the hell do I do now? I mean, are you kidding me? I went out with a woman. I don't know why the hell a woman would go out with me in those days, but one did. We're having wine at a place in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And she says, can I have a glass of wine? Another glass? Sure. You know what I'm saying in my head as I'm pouring her this glass of wine? Are you shitting me, lady? If you want a bottle, we'll buy you one, goddammit. But don't be drinking my wine. I was a scorekeeper. I was waiting for the shoe to drop or have you come in and tell me, hey, Jack, will you go to rehab? But I never did. So now I'm got assigned to the Mag 14 at Cherry Point as a group grunt. Went to the first party, got called in, got drunk at the Hail and Farewell. I told the colonel, I'm done. I ain't never having another drink. So he said, we're going to watch you. Well, you know what did it? I went on a wagon for 16 months with the wing. Ran the Marine Marathon November of 78. Between that marathon and the other marathon, I ran over 2,500 miles. Bad foot and all. November 79, we're going to break 3:30 for the marathon. Came across the finish line. Went right over to the Iwo Jima Monument. You know what they're doing? They're giving away free beer. I said, give me one of those. You know something? I said to myself, I deserve this. I rated. I did 3:21 marathon. Haven't had a drink in 16 months. I'm going to get shit-faced right here in front of the Iwo Jima Monument. And I did. And I pissed the bed in the Marriott Hotel that night. Alcoholism is a progressive disease. You don't ever go back to being a social drinker. You don't ever get back to being a social drinker. Waiting for the shoe to drop. The shoe dropped. Went to my first AA meeting. Bethesda. Get out of the van. Had a wristband on. An old lady smoking a cigarette. She says, you a Marine? I said, yes, ma'am. She says, my name's Ann Curry. I've been sober 38 years. I was a Navy nurse in World War II. And I'm taking you to your first meeting. I said, okay. At the end of that first meeting, they're giving chips away for measured amounts of sobriety. And I'm sitting there, and guy, anybody want a chip for 30, 60, 90, whatever years? Ann says, anybody want a 24-hour chip? And Ann says, hey, Jack, do you have your 24-hour chip? I said, hell no, Ann. That sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. She elbows me. I get up. Went up and got my first 24-hour chip. That's not mine. Gave mine away to a Marine sergeant. Iwakuni, Japan, 1999, Christmas time. You know he's a gunny now? He's still sober? The 9 AA meetings a week. Last 2 years, I asked the Marine Corps, can I stay in one more year? They said yes. Went to 9 AA meetings a week. Made coffee at the National Cathedral. And now I was got called in my third week of rehab, and 3 Navy doctors, Navy captains, said, sit down. Yes, sir. They said, how do you think you're doing? I said, I'm doing fine. Can't sleep, but I think I'm doing okay. They said, well, we have diagnosed you as alcoholic, chronic, severe, and it's our impression, our experience that you'll be dead in 2 years, they think. I said, you're serious? So you know what I did? I went to the National Cathedral that Friday night, all by myself, D.C. Pitch dark in the cathedral. Went up and I sat down, hadn't been to church in years. Just sat down in cold in the dark. Felt like a huge hypocrite being in there. But then I finally knelt down and I said, you know, I don't know if you know who I am. I don't even know if you give a shit who I am. But I heard it said that you'll do for me what I can't do for myself. So I'm not asking you for help. Begging you to help me. Well, last night, April, in Bend, Oregon, I got my 26-year chip for being sober. So you guys believe in miracles? You ought to. You're looking at one of these little miracles in this world. The end of my story is this. I could talk to you for a while, but the end of the story is this. I was getting ready to retire on General Gray. You guys know who General Gray was? Do you? He calls me. He's FMF Land, CGFMF Land. He says, hey, who's retiring you? I said, sir, nobody's retiring me. Who the hell would come? He says, I'm retiring you and I'm coming. You tell everybody we'll be in utility. So in September of 1986, he got me up on a stage. General Gray comes up. General Gray gave me 3-8 to take to Beirut. And did I tell you guys, we're the only unit that ever went to Lebanon and didn't lose a man. Jim Revere, Larry Revere will tell you that. Gray comes in, gets me up on a stage. His aide is over here in the corner. He starts reading out Legion of Merit Award for my retirement. And you were there, weren't you, Jim? And I said to General Gray, hey, sir, don't give me that. Sir, you know I don't deserve that. Come on. I don't deserve it, I don't rate it. Gray says, I'll tell you what you deserve. I'll tell you what you rate. Pins it on me. But more important than that, you know what General Gray said to me? He said, I'm really proud of you. I want to tell you guys, I knew I was going to make it then. When Gray said that, I knew I was going to make it in this world. And I have so far. You know the difference between going to get thrown out of the Marine Corps, getting a Legion of Merit 2 years later? 9 AA meetings a week for 2 years. I dove in with both feet. So far I've stayed sober. So, I can tell you more, but that's my story, okay? I went over to Portland a couple of weeks ago, and this young 26-year-old psychiatrist, psychologist, I don't know what the hell he was. He said, I can interview you for, do you have PTSD? I said, shit, I don't know. Why don't you tell me whether you think I do or not? I said, but why don't you get hit by an RPG, and why don't you lose your left leg and put a prosthesis on, and you tell me whether you think you got PTSD, doc. And he said, so they diagnosed me with PTSD. In my days, they didn't do that. Colonel Barnum will tell you, nobody ever talked about that stuff. We just sucked it up. But I know from experience a lot of guys are living with it. So, it's an honor to talk to you guys. Don't you take that comment lightly. At my age, you don't get a chance to talk to Marines like you. I know exactly the dues you're paying, and I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. Fair enough? God love each and every one of you, and take care of yourself.